Hello, it's Amy with Just a Little Ink. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up, and I'd like to share with you a technique that's been around actually for quite some time, and I'm not sure what others call it, but I'm referring to this as a raised letter technique. You can kind of see as I lift this card, and normally I don't show the sample up front, but I want to show it, how things just kind of stick up a little bit and yet the image kind of hides. And so I want to share that with you and how I made that. I am using actually a stamp set and a stamp bundle that's been around for a year or two, Art Gallery. The Art Gallery stamp has beautiful watercolored photopolymer stamps, two steps. It's a two-step stamp set. And then I keep my dies on magnetic sheets, but it comes with a coordinating die set that cuts out most of the images here, as well as some greeting kind of banner type things, but as well as a die that says just want to say. And I'm going to use both on this card. So let me share with you quickly kind of what I'm using. I went with a very simple stamp image color coordination. I'm using Mango Melody, and that's my card base, simple card base, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4.25. All of the measurements I will have listed on my blog, justalittleink.com. You can order anytime any of the supplies that I'm using in this. You can find all of those in the description of this video, as well as in the drop down on my blog. Have images, and you can just click on them. It'll take you directly to my online store, justalittleink.stampinup.net. So the other things you're going to want, besides this card base, you want a piece of garden green. This is at 4 inches by 5.25. And then for simplicity's sake, I cut two of the same image of very vanilla cardstock, 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. One of them is for the front, the other will go on the inside. Then I want a scrap piece of very vanilla for my greeting, happy birthday. And you could tell from this stamp set, you could say all kinds of things. I just want to say I miss you. I just want to say congratulations, etc. All kinds of different options that you could do. That one's about 3.25 by 3/4 of an inch to give you enough room to stamp and then cut that out using the die. Then, set it aside here, I'm using a piece of foam adhesive sheet. And that is kind of the secret little bit that we're going to use to get this saying to pop up. So let's get started. I'm going to set all my other pieces aside. I am going to pull out half of my Pierce mat. I've cut one in half. It just makes it easier when I'm doing videos to have one that's smaller. So I've cut one in half with my paper trimmer. Oh, and before I forget, because sometimes I forget to stick it on at the end, I also am putting on some of our brushed brass butterflies. I've used up all of the larger size. They come in two sizes, though. One's larger, and then there's a smaller one kind of split between the two, and they're adhesive on the back. So I'm going to open up a Mango Melody stamp pad. That's the same color as my card base. I'm going to pull out a scratch piece of paper and kind of show how I'm going to go about this. I'm also going to open up my garden green. So I'm going to have both of them open. Those are my two colors I'm using. The Art Gallery has a leaf and stem stamp. So I'm going to ink up. Well, it helps if I get it all inked. Make sure I got it all covered. I'm going to come in here and couple other places that I'm going to end up sticking that stem. I'm going to put my paper underneath it here just so I don't goober up my Pearson pad. I'm going to come up at the top because I don't want a lot of it up here, but just a little poking through. And then I also want one little area over here on the side, like so. Then I'll set that aside. I will clean it later. It's always a good idea to stamp, or excuse me, to clean your stamps in between. So I'm going to share is kind of some tips I've done. So this particular stamp has both leaves and buds and flowers. And I kind of tend to come in, I don't know if you can see how I'm working on that. Tend to come in here, grab kind of the corner. I've got part of it inked. Come up here in the corner, just can get it. See how I'm going about that. And I'll catch the rest of it kind of here. So you can kind of see how I'm getting parts of it. Then, and just because I like our stamp pad inking better, I'm going to do the same kind of thing using the Mango Melody, keeping it from touching as best I can the where I've got those leaves and buds. And I'm going to come in an angle again. I'll look at it. Looks like I've got it pretty good. I got a little line here on this one. Then I am going to pull out my Stampin' Write marker. Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell our Stampin' Write markers in sets anymore, or excuse me, individually anymore, only in sets. And so if you don't have, I did get a little of that on there. That's not a good idea. I'll share another tip when I'm kind of done with this. So I'm going to come in and grab my stems that are overlapping in here. Just a little. Want to make sure I have all of that inked appropriately. Okay, and I'm going to come up from the corner again, keeping this tie up over here, like so. Okay, and then you got to clean it in between. I'm going to give you another tip to kind of keep you from doing what I boobered on. You don't want to be doing that. First and foremost, I'm going to ink, kind of push off as much of that as I can. And clean all of them. I've taken my Simply Chamois and I've cut it into 4 different pieces. I keep it wet and I keep them in a Ziploc bag just to keep it damp. It's handy for when you're at your desk. So better tip is to ink all of it in Mango Melody. And then I can come taking those edges, because this is a lighter color, the Mango Melody, than Garden Green. So I'm going to ink up as much as I can using my stamp pad. And then I will come in again with my Stampin' Write marker to grab the areas that I can't quite reach without inking up all over my pad. I don't want my stamp pad to be Mango Melody. So I'm kind of push a little there with my finger. I'm going to breathe on it because it's been a few seconds, just to make sure I moisten up that ink. I'm going to come in from the top. All I'm doing is trying to cover my cardstock with different flowers. And then I would clean it again, but I am done with the green. So I'm going to set my green pad away, and then I'm going to pull out these other flowers. And so I'm going to ink it up full strength, and I'm going to stamp it off. It's a great way to get two colors from one color. So I'm getting a lighter image. I'm going to come here, and it's going to overlap a little. It's okay that I've overlapped. And I'm going to do the same thing once again. I'm going to stamp it full strength, stamp it off once so that it's lighter. And I'm going to come up here, stamp, and I did it one more time down here. So same thing, full strength, stamp it off once, and then I can get this out of the way. Well, almost out of the way. I'm going to come in and grab it right here. Okay. So then I can set that one aside. I will clean it after a little bit. I'm going to ink up the overlay, which is the two-step part. And hopefully I can line it up well outside of the camera. Sometimes that's the challenge. Let's see how I can do here. I'll come in, tip it, grab the overlay, stamp again, come up at the top, the overlay, like so. So that's all of my stamping, and I can, almost all my stamping, and I said I was done with the green. I'm not done with the green. I need the greeting. So let's pull this off, set it aside for just a minute so we can get all the stamping out of the way. I'm going to then grab my greeting and my little scrap piece here of Very Vanilla. I'm going to stamp it right in the center. And then I'll set it there so it can dry. And if we have time, I'll show you. I think I'll just show you what I did on the inside just to save time so you don't have to watch me once again here. So I'm going to pull out my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I'm going to pull out the full machine, the big one, because the greeting, I just want to say, is big enough that it requires the larger machine. So let me grab my machine, grab my plates. So I've got, talk through it just briefly. I've got plate number 1 and plate number 2, important. I'll lay them in here. I'm going to put a plate, this one I've used. I keep on the top one that I haven't because it'll tend to mar up your paper if you don't. So I'm going to lay it on the top in a minute. So I'm going to put here, and I'm going to grab that just want to say, and you're going to decide where do I want to put it. I've seen a couple people do videos of this technique, and they've stamped their greeting or their background twice and used one stamp. And I think you could easily do that. With Art Gallery, that would be a challenge to get things exact. So I'm going to line this up how I'd like it. I'm going to layer on top my clear pad, or excuse me, my clear plate, run it through, scoot it over here, and I'm going to lay this in one more time. We've got a couple times we're going to come through. I'm going to lay down Happy Birthday. And I'm going to grab the larger of these scalloped, for lack of a better word, banner. I'm going to lay it on, and I'm going to come at an offset just a little bit. Can't talk today. Kind of offset, because I'm going to show you a tip. I want mine not that long. So I'm going to roll it through. Okay, pull it back. I'm going to take this off, throw the excess away, and I'm going to line up, making sure I've got my notches at the top how I want them. This sometimes can be a challenge. We'll see how we do. If I need to go back on the other side, we could do that too. And just to keep this straight, I'm going to take a piece of some washi tape. Make sure that I'm not moving around. Just because it could shift in here. So I'm going to roll through one more time. Let's see how well I did. If it's not quite right, we can shift again. So it's actually not too bad. A little bit off. So I think I was a little off to begin with. But it kind of gives you the idea that you can shorten your greeting. So better when you're not under a camera. As you'll note here, it's a little straighter. So I may not attach that when we get done. However, then the other thing you would do, and I've already done it, so I'm not going to run it through. You would take your Just Want to Say and your adhesive sheet, and you would run it through. When you do that, let me set this here. When you've done that, you're going to end up with it cut out on the adhesive sheet. And the adhesive sheet, foam sheet, is pretty much just like our Stampin' Dimensionals, but in one big sheet so you can cut them out. So let me set this out of the way, this big old machine. I love the big machine because it's so big and heavy that it'll stay put when you're working on things. So I'm going to set aside my greetings that came out of here. Just want to, and I'm going to keep all of these little pieces. It's important. I think I've got some of them setting into piece there. Got this one here. You'll understand why. Okay. And I've got all my parts and pieces. So let me grab my paper piercer from years ago. I need that one from the, I think that's from the 2. And I've got my dot for my I, or for my J, excuse me. That one's going to go there. Make sure, yep, I've got one more piece here. That goes for that J. I've got this piece here. And this is so that all those pieces are going to go down. Where did I dropped it somewhere. Always total fun here. So we'll see if we can find it. If not, we might be parts and pieces, huh? Oh no, there it is. It was hiding on me. There we go. So, got all my pieces there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start attaching here. I want to take the cover off first. I kind of had a method when I was doing this. So I'm going to take the top off. And I found that my Take Your Pick tool worked out really well for grabbing onto those tiny pieces. And I'm going to lay it on top of. I just found that this was a lot easier. I can kind of push so that it's on, because it's sticky on both sides. Just like your Stampin' Dimensionals are sticky on both sides, so is your adhesive sheet. So then I'm going to pull the cover off of the rest of Just, and I'm going to pick it up. And I'm going to lay it on top of. I found this method here worked the best for attaching. I'm going to grab There we go. So I can get that exactly how I'd like it. And then I will pull it off. Tends to want to twist. And this way I've got just. And then I'm going to do the same thing with want. I've done this once before here. So I'm going to come and I'm going to grab the cover. And it's actually split a little bit there. There we go. And so I'm going to grab want. And I'm going to lay want on top before I pull it out of the rest of the backing. That lets me know that I've got everything kind of in the area that I want it. Then I can come in and pull it out. A little more tedious, but I think so well worth on this. I've got want. Then I'm going to do the same thing. 2. Same concept here. Make sure I keep all those pieces. Just a lot easier to line everything up when you've got all them out there. So there's 2, and then one more. We've got say. Okay, let's see if I can grab with fingers. So then I've got say. And no 2 are going to be exact, which with this stamp set. So that's why each time you're going to want to lay them on top and stamp once. So, and then this gets the super easy part. So there's the to say. Now I'm going to set them aside. This I can set aside for another use. Let's go ahead and fold up my card base. Make sure I keep all those little parts and pieces. I'll want my take your pick tool handy. Grab my bone folder. Get a nice crisp fold. And to take my garden green, I'm going to get my Stampin' Seal. And I'm going to kind of use a combo. I'm going to use Stampin' Seal, but I'm also going to use my multi-purpose liquid glue. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want all of this to stay attached. I don't want, so you don't want to have too heavy a hand. I may have had too heavy a hand on my glue here. But I want all these little pieces to lay flat. I don't want, so that's kind of the next little bit you need. All these little divots, is what I'll refer to them as, need to be glued flat. And then everything else around can be good. So let's see how we did. I'm going to turn this over because it'll be okay if it's on the other side. So then I have just a slight reveal. There's not a lot of room on this. I'm going to come in and do the same thing. It's pretty snug. Then I can lay these flat. All right. Now, before I put everything else in, I want to add a little here where that center of my want goes. And let's see if I remember what part goes where. Is it here? No. Is it here? No. I believe it was on the want. So I'm going to put it here. If I didn't do all of this, it's not like you're going to see. Probably you'll have the green reveal, but I liked it when it shared or it showed exact. And so it'll still be a little bit goopy when I put it down. And my O, which I think, yes, is in 2 separate pieces. So I'm going to put a little bit here and a little bit here. Grab my O. And there's my divot. Had it sitting here. That's the J. Well, I had it laying there. We may have to leave that piece off, because things get missed when we lay them down. There's the O, Y, and the J is the other one. This one you probably wouldn't notice if I didn't put it down. Hopefully you're sticking with me here through all of my all my jibber jabber. Oh, here we go. It was laying there the whole time. You know what I'm going to do? We're going to hold on to him for just a minute. I'm going to stick the 2 on first. I'm going to grab the backing and I'm going to lay it into here. I found this was just the simplest. So you do have, if you find a different method, comment in my comments and I would love to hear your hints and tips. Let's see, I've got it sitting there still, yes. So I'm going to lay it here. This may have been the better method. Take the poker, which I had on the other end anyway. Oops. And this one I'm going to move if it'll let me. Yep. Slide it down just a little bit. There we go. And then take off say. Same thing. They say here on top, fitting in all of the little grooves. And I can slide this one over because that glue should still be just a little bit wet. Gives me a little bit of room. Take it off of the want. It's just kind of keep going. Want. Just loved how it lifts up, and I'll kind of show you my inspiration from this, from something I did years ago. I was going through some old card files, and let's actually take off just take fingers. This is the dot to the J. Push it down, and then again do the same thing with the just. Lay it in, and you just want to be careful laying your letters on top so they don't twist out of the way. So there we go. And then I took my happy birthday and some mini dimensionals, stuck 3 of them, 1 in the middle, 2 on the ends, 1 on each end, excuse me, not on each end. Come through, laid my happy birthday so that it came in down here on the end. I just thought it was real simple. Kind of a neat wow that kind of people like, ooh, I didn't notice. And then I'll show you what I did for the inside. I'm not going to go ahead and stamp it now, but what I had done on the inside is I took the other little bloom and the same stem and flower and leaves and put it on the inside. So you can do that. I'll just set it here. Keeps the greeting open for me. And before I forget, because I often do, I'm going to grab my, well, that one looks like it's stuck there. I'm going to grab a butterfly. Let's find a good place to stick my butterfly. I think right here. You could do more than one. I just thought it was kind of neat how that went. So thank you again for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the card. I hope you'll try it out for yourself. If you don't have a demonstrator, I would love to be your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. You can order anytime, 24/7 on my website, justalittleinc.stampinup.net. And if you're ordering under $150 worth, please use my host code. It's good through April the 1st, and I keep the current host code at the top right of my blog, justalittleinc.com, at any time if you happen to be beyond this time frame. Any questions, please reach out to me. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks and have a wonderful day.